Welcome to episode 6 of Stack Sats or Die Trying, the Bitcoin only show from By the Hood. My name is Jimmy. Listen, I'm getting right into it. You know what I mean? I don't want to waste your time. Let's just start talking about it. This is episode 6. Shout out to everybody who supports us, but we're getting right into the festivities. Let me pull my presentation up and not waste any time. So today's episode 6 is called Beware of Shitcoins, right? So a lot of the questions that I've gotten since starting this, journey on Stack Sats or Die Trying, or about my thoughts on, hey, so what do you feel about this, or what do you feel about that? And it's probably been 100 times, honestly, through the various platforms, social media platforms, people asking me questions and people texting me what I care about this, and I tell them all the time I don't. That's really my response at this point is I just don't. And again, I'm a freedom maximalist. Do whatever you want to do with your money. I always tell you this is not investment advice. And as a matter of fact, next slide in our presentation today, this is not investment advice, educational, informational purposes only. I'm only here to talk about Bitcoin, give different points of view, well, my point of view, but different perspectives in terms of things that I read, things that I learn as I go through my own journey of learning about Bitcoin. But I don't really think about the poop coins, right? And I'm also going to preface this show today by saying it's not that I didn't go down the shitcoin rabbit hole, right? When I first learned of Bitcoin, I did buy Bitcoin first. But I'm just like everybody else. I started looking at the prices of other assets, and I'm like, well, if this pop, maybe I can get this at a lower price, and it'll pop too. But one of the things that I'll give myself credit for is as I went down the shitcoin rabbit hole, I continued to study. And I think studying is the most important thing you can do as you get into the space. And the more I studied, the more I started to realize that a lot of this other stuff just doesn't make sense. It's not the same thing. These are tech companies creating cryptocurrencies for the sake of just raising capital. They're not really doing anything. A lot of them are claiming to solve problems that don't exist. A lot of these things would be better off as just databases. They don't need an actual currency. A lot of these are a way to take your Bitcoin. So I realized a lot of things as I started going through the shitcoin journey, but I did do it. I had so much Ethereum at one point, they used to call me ETH Sweat. And when I say they, I mean people in our community, because we do have a community of By the Hood, but people used to call me ETH Sweat. That was like a joking nickname, an ode to Keith Sweat. Shout out to Keith Sweat. I know you probably watching or listening, but they used to call me ETH Sweat. But once I continued to learn and go down the journey, all roads led to me being a Bitcoiner. And I believe all roads lead to being a Bitcoiner anyway. So eventually, everybody understands the value proposition and does the right thing, in my opinion, at least. And again, I'm not telling anybody not to do whatever it is you do. I know I have a lot of friends who are Bitcoiners who trade the poop coins in order to accumulate more money to then go buy Bitcoin, right? So that's your thing. Do your thing. Listen, man. One of the things I learned about Bitcoin is, people gonna do what they want to do, man. So do whatever it is you want to do. I could care less, but I am going to share my perspective and my opinion on this platform. That's what Stack Sats or Die Trying is about. This project was supposed to be a book. I was going to write the book called Stack Sats or Die Trying, give my perspective. Started writing it, but I love this. Like I mentioned before, I love the video platform so well, and I love documenting my journey and documenting my thoughts and to see how my thoughts change over time. Because one of the things that I pride myself on, and I learned this as a kid through reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, one of the things the book taught me is when you get more information in, it's okay to change your opinion. It's okay to change your thoughts about how things work, as long as you're processing the information and you're able to make the decision yourself and not just take people's word for it. So I process information and I come up with my thoughts and then I share them here on this platform of Stack Sats or Die Trying. But let's get to it, man. Let's get to it, right? And I'm going to tell you all, first off, I want to share this one because I came across this the other day. This was from 2017. 2017, I had put a post on social media. And if you read the caption, it says, walks in office like LeVar Ball did in the WWE. And for those who don't know what that is, just look up LeVar Ball walking to the ring in the WWE. That's how I walked in when Bitcoin had hit 5,700. I was so excited. It went up $514 in one day. And I was just like uber excited about us hitting 5,700. This is back in 2017. Like I told you guys in previous episodes, I got into the space around the end of 2016, early 2017. So this is towards the end of 2017. And I was hyped about us hitting 5,700. And I've been preaching stack sats since then, since 2016, 2017. And the crazy part is right now we're in the high 60s and I'm still preaching it because I still think that it's at a discount, believe it or not. But yeah, so this is just like, documentation showing that, I was on this wave for a while at this point. 2017, what we're in now, 2024, 7-8 years, I've been saying, we gotta do our thing in terms of accumulating as many sats as possible. Anyway, what inspired this episode is a close friend of mine named Jabbar. And maybe I'll bring Jabbar on one day to tell his story, but I've mentioned him in previous episodes. He's a very successful entrepreneur. He's one of the brightest minds in real estate in Philadelphia. But he also has run a multi-million-dollar business. And I preface all that to say that the brother's not stupid at all. He's a very smart brother. But he called me a couple days ago. And he said, I said, yo, he said, you were right. That's all he said to me. He said 3 words, you were right. And I'm like, elaborate. I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, all these years you've been saying just stack sats and leave the shit coins alone. And he went through a couple wallets of his. And he was like, he realized how much money he lost chasing shit coins. So I told him, I was like, well, I think I'm going to talk about this on the next episode. And he sent me screenshots of some of his wallets. He said, go ahead and share it. So these are some of the wallets. These aren't my wallets. I want to preface that these are the wallets of a close friend of mine, Jabbar. And shout out to Jabbar. I know you're watching. But he shared these with me. And we had a quick conversation, and I told him I will make this episode about his chasing of shit coins. So let's look at some of Jabbar's wallets, and let's have a conversation about the idea of shit coins. First off, I want to talk about this, though, right? So shout out to BTC Sessions, right? He's a content creator, and I learned a lot about wallets through him. He has a great YouTube channel, so if you're on YouTube, check it out. If you listen to the audio version of this, it's BTC, like Bitcoin, it's Sessions, Sessions. This is a tweet that I saw from him on Twitter and actually responded to it on Twitter. He said, 2016 Epic taught people about the dangers of shitcoins versus Bitcoin. He said, the 2020 Epic taught people about the dangers of leverage. 2024 Epic, what's in store? So he was asking basically, we went through the whole phase of people buying shitcoins and learning long-term how they perform against Bitcoin. Then we learned about leverage because in 2020, a lot of people got all kinds of leverage and got, cooked on leverage. Now what's in store for 2024? My response to him on Twitter was, basically, the lottery ticket mentality will make it so that shitcoins are never going anywhere. So we'll go through more of that in 2024. But also check out BTC Sessions. But let's get to my brother Jabbar and some of his wallets, man. Look, so excuse me. Here's one wallet he shared with me. Let me see if I can make this out. He has 67,567,218,551 Ethereum Max tokens. I'm going to repeat that because I know we have a lot of audio listeners. Actually, our audio does numbers more than our video. 67,567,218,551 Ethereum Max tokens. And the value of those are $37.57. So he spent money on over 67 billion of these tokens. Now, granted, when he paid for them, they were like, they were small amounts. But the reason that people spend money on shitcoins is because they look at the pure amount they can get. There's a thing called unit bias, right? So when people come into Bitcoin, they see the high price of $68,000, and they say, I can't afford a full Bitcoin at $68,000, so I'm going to go buy this other thing that I can buy billions of. And then all I needed, and here's the one thing you'll hear a lot of shitcoiners say: I just needed to get to $1. Or I just needed to get to a penny, right? Those unit biases again. This is why I talk about sats and not Bitcoin, right? And for those who don't know, maybe watching for the first time, 100 million Satoshis equal 1 Bitcoin. But I say stack sats. Eventually, you'll get the 1 Bitcoin. But this is why people go. This is one reason. People have a lot of reasons why they do it, right? But one reason is they're chasing that penny, or they're chasing that dollar unit thing, so they know that they can scale up that way. Right. But the point that Jabbar was making when he called me was the money that I put into these things And he was like, he sold Bitcoin and Ethereum to get into some of these crazier tokens. I was like, I'm not an Ethereum guy, but this is the ERC20 token, and that means it's on the Ethereum chain. I'm like, I'm not an Ethereum guy, but you would have been better off just holding your ETH, like literally, but chasing shitcoins again. All right, here's another one. This is on the BEP20, so this is the Binance Smart Chain. Some token called an EFT token. He has 36,535,339,280 EFT tokens. I will repeat, 36,535,339,280 EFT tokens, worth of literally $0.00. Yes, he has over 36 billion of these tokens, and they're worth $0.00. Mind you, the good brother, was trading in basically Bitcoin and Ethereum to buy these shit coins, and a lot of them have went to next to nothing. This one is literally nothing. It's worth $0. All right, that's the EFT token. Then he sent me a list of other things that are within his wallet. I'll read a couple of them off. Something called a GMPX token, and he has 1,146,519 tokens worth $0. Something else called GLMX, another billion worth $0. Something called DBME, another thing that he has. What's this? 1,105,272.3999 tokens worth $0. So a lot of these things are literally, he has millions and billions of tokens that once had value that are now worth $0. This happens when you chase shit coins. Now, I know some people will say, well, some of the shit coins pop, whether it be, Solano, right? And shout out to everybody who loves Solano. That's your thing. That's your thing. It's just not mine. I don't judge. But one of the things I recognized through the years of watching this is, believe it or not, I'll give Ethereum some credit here. The one thing about Ethereum has stayed number 2. When you look at the market cap of all these tokens, it's been Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then that third spot, it was once Litecoin. It was, once, what was the other one? It was once the Binance token. It was once all, that third spot changes. Right now, I believe it's Solana. So I just watched that third spot change over and over again. I give ETH credit in the standpoint that it's maintained at the second peg. Again, I don't mess with ETH either at this point. The only ETH, to be transparent, that I have any sort of ownership in is I am a member of an investment group. And our investment group have bought Ethereum, but we bought Ethereum at like $300. This is years ago when even me, I was shitcoining, but we bought it years ago. We bought it at I think $300, but so our investment club still holds that, and I do own equity in the investment club. But personally, my personal accounts, I am what they call a 13%er, and I'll break down what that is, right? So, they say that 87% of people that own Bitcoin own another token, but then there's the 13%ers, the people like me who don't own anything else. Like we strictly buy sats. That's who I am. All right, so. Quick recap where we are thus far. I've shown 3 screenshots for those listening to the audio. What he had in Ethereum Max, what he had in something called Eternal Flow. I don't even know what Eternal Flow did or does. I know Ethereum Max was like a different version. I remember like Floyd Money May promoting this, but we know now Floyd Money May will promote anything for a couple dollars for some fiat gains. Then DBME, don't know what that is. GMPX, never heard of it. GLXM, don't know what it is. But my man had billions and millions of this token. And shout out to Jabbar too for allowing me to share this and for sending me these screenshots, because he laughs about it now, but he realizes that he could have just stacked sats and been way up right now. Way up. All right. Oh, by the way, he sent me another wallet too, from his crypto.com wallet, where he had a bunch of other things as well. VVS Finance, he had 200,000 of those. He had 200,000. They're worth 98 cents. He has something called XYO. We had 327 of them. They were $4. Yo, he has something called Smooth Love Potion. Yo, what the hell is Smooth Love? Yo, anybody out there know what Smooth Love Potion is or does or what they promise to do? Please let me know. He bought a bunch of Smooth Love Potion that's worth about $3.14. That radar, he had 500 of those worth $5. Poly Mesh, he had 100 of those worth $24. Polygon Matic. Now I ain't going to take no shots at Polygon Matic. I was huge in that ecosystem for a while, but he had some of those. Everybody's favorite. He had Shiba Inu. Let me see how many Shiba Inu he had. 28,053,712, worth about $840 right now. He had a bunch of Crow. You know what I'm saying? I went down a Crow rabbit hole too. They used to call me Crow Frazier. But again, at this point, 13%er. But he has 413 Crow worth about $58 now. So this whole entire crypto.com wallet is worth about $976 that he shared with me. 842 was with Shiba Inu, but that's also having like 28 million Shiba Inu. Point being, this is what it looks like now. What he was telling me is he paid a lot more for this stuff and got rid of a lot of Bitcoin and Ethereum to get into these various spaces. Yo, Smooth Love Potion, yo. My apologies, Barbara. That's funny as hell. He has something else in his wallet called Military Finance Token, right? This is a BEP20 wallet. This means it's on the BNB Smart Chain, the Binance Smart Chain. He had 101,168,693 MIL, which was the Military Finance Token. So out of his 101 million, it's now worth $0, right? So again, I want to recap as I go through all this stuff that, you know, shots a bar, but yeah, so 101 million military finance. He got Smooth Love Potion. Let's go back and get some of these crazy names because it's some wild names on this list. We got Military Finance, Smooth Love Potion, VVS Finance. You know what I'm saying? What's the other ones? EFT, Eternal Flow, Ethereum Max. You know, nothing beats Smooth Love Potion though. That's a wild name. I have no idea what they were doing with Smooth Love Potion. Like, it sound like, you know, someone selling that on their OnlyFans or whatever. Like, Smooth Love Potion bar, you was wilding. But here's the thing, getting back into the whole idea of shitcoins. People say it's 1 cent, it's $1. That's that thing. It's that thing of it's chasing lottery tickets. That's all you're doing. But the value proposition isn't there. Here's the one thing I tell people: if you tell me about a project and you tell me who the founders are, you know, what their pre-mine is and all that, I don't even care. Like, once I know who your founder is and I can point to them, I'm off that. It doesn't serve the purpose that I come to this space looking for. Again, the reason that every episode I always reference back to my education, my training, and my work history and things like that is because it gives the perspective of why I feel the way I feel about Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is property, right? Bitcoin is a commodity. The SEC has deemed it a commodity, and it's a reason that it has the value proposition that a lot of these other things don't. It's the reason that decentralization is important. Most of these things aren't decentralized, right? So I would say none of these things are decentralized. They have founders, they have roadmaps, they have plans. Like, there is no Bitcoin CEO for me to go to. You know what I mean? There's no Bitcoin executive board for me to go to. That separates it from everything else. Once you tell me who the founder is, I'm cool. That's my perspective. Again, I know a lot of people who are, you know, quote unquote, what they call Bitcoin maxis. They like to poop on shit coiners and all that. And that's fine. For me, I'm like, yo, what I recognize is, and it's something I heard Michael Saylor say recently, the CEO of MicroStrategy. He said that Bitcoin doesn't have enemies. They just have people who don't recognize they need it yet. And I kind of, you know, I felt that bar. That was a bar because once, I think Bar's coming to the realization, which is why he shared this with me and why we had the conversation we had. But people start to come to the realization that, okay, there is no second best. I know what I need to do. All right. But let's keep it moving, though. So this is something I saw on Twitter from a gentleman named Bitcoin Isaiah. So as you know, I'm on, you know, Twitter, and there's a lot of Bitcoin information on Twitter. It's like a community of people from Bitcoin on Twitter. He said it's rare for an asset to recover from a 75% downturn. Bitcoin has done it 5 times. That is the difference between The other stuff and the real thing, right, is that ability to recover, because the market always, in my opinion, goes to scarcity. And the thing about Bitcoin is it is scarce. It continues to become more scarce. And value tends to find its way to scarce assets. One of the things I learned about studying the valuation of real estate and just valuation in general is valuation and value itself will find scarcity. There is not an asset more scarce than Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has done it 5 times. It had a downturn of 75%, and it's recovered 5 times. Again, I said in the previous episode, I think the first episode of the series, that the work is in waiting, and the work is in understanding why you're waiting. The work is in doing the education while you wait. So people say you got lucky because you've been doing this for a while. Not really, right? Because most people would have sold when you have a 75% downturn. For me, I get excited. It's a weird thing to get excited when the asset you love goes lower. It's kind of like it goes against everything. But for me, it's like, yo, stack more coin. You know what I mean? You see my name there, Stack Bauer today. I change my name all the time. But anyway, Stack Bauer, like I find it an opportunity for me to stack more because, again, I'm looking, my time preference is different. I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about 15, 20 years from now. You know, I'm thinking about what this looks like when I'm tired, when I'm done, what I call fiat mining. What am I going to have in Bitcoin terms? And when you really, really understand Bitcoin, price doesn't matter. Like I literally don't even care about price. I know about price because anytime we have a huge upswing or we drop down a little bit, you know, my phone is going off, but people either excited or scared. But for me, I could care less because I'm stacking corn every day. All I want to do is stack corn. Corn equals Bitcoin. So it's a Bitcoin meme from a while ago, Bitcoin, but you can look those things up. All right, so this is another post. And by the way, this post doesn't come from Twitter. This post right here comes from a social media site that a lot of you people may have never heard of. It's called Nostr. Nostr is a decentralized social media platform, right? So there isn't, and what I like about Nostr is just the idea of, you know, and I spent a little bit of time on there, but I'm spending more and more time on there. It's the idea that no one can control it, no one can censor you, because there is no one point of attack. It's very similar to Bitcoin, right? And it uses the same kind of framework in terms of a private key and a public key. Anyway, but I got this on Nostr. Join Rise says, these scam coins are getting crazy. Here's one that someone just showed me. 27 trillion in circulation, has an unlimited supply cap. It only has one node. 25% of its supply was minted in the last 6 months, and 1% of holders own 30% of this coin. He said, just kidding. That's the US dollar. Point being, don't forget, as we go through this journey, the ultimate shitcoin is the dollar, right? And here's the thing about that. I know some folks are like, oh, here you go. It's not about being anti-government, anti-anything. It's about having an understanding of what the dollar is, right? So here's something else I want you to think about. When you buy any asset, real estate, stocks, art, that's technically a bet against the dollar. You are putting your money somewhere else because you don't want to keep it within our currency. And the idea is by buying assets over time, I'll beat inflation, and it's a kind of a bet against the dollar. It's why I was thinking about this in terms of real estate. Like through this study, I started doing math, and I was thinking, like, when you buy a property, right? Say it's a place to live. It actually makes sense considering inflation. When you do the math about how inflation actually works, it makes sense to take out as much loan as possible if you can get it at a cheaper rate. Now, right now, our rates are up a little bit, but to me, as someone who's been in the real estate business for that long, rates are probably where they normally are. But we did have a period of time where rates had dropped so low that now it seems that they're high. With that being said, I thought about this. I'm like, well, you know, let's just say you get approved for a mortgage for $700,000, and you say, well, I only want to spend $5,000. It actually makes sense, just mathematically, right, to take the most amount because that's a bet against the dollar. So you get that cheap money that you're able to borrow, and that asset will increase in price as the dollar like decreases in value. Anyway, that's just how I thought. I could do that exercise another time on a different show. This is about Bitcoin, because again, buying Bitcoin is a better store of value than anything, including that real estate I'm talking about. If you don't know why I believe that, go back to the previous episode, episode 5, where I talk about Bitcoin being the king of all assets. This episode specifically is to talk about be careful with the shit coins, right? What I'll say is, if you're willing to do research and do all the stuff you have to do to be a trader, that's cool. But I'd rather just stack sats and just wait. The work isn't waiting. You know what I mean? And the thing about Bitcoin is the rabbit hole is such that what I found is trying to fully understand the value proposition, how it works, why it works, understanding layer 2 things such as the Lightning Network or Liquid. All of these things take up so much time that there isn't time to study shitcoins. So that means at this point, I'm just, really doing lottery tickets where I'm buying meme tokens and things of that nature, just hoping that it goes up, because there isn't enough time to fully understand something. I'd rather take my time to fully understand, fully immerse myself in the culture, the ideas, and figure out how it works, than to be spread over here, and not knowing what I'm doing. So, by the way, when I say this, I say the same thing about the stock market. It's why I believe that 99% of people shouldn't trade. Do I trade? Yes, but I trade a few things, things that I follow and understand. Because again, there's only so much time in a day, and I feel like the idea of discipline and concentration on a smaller number of things and mastering those are better than being all over the place. And that's no shot at anybody, because again, I say this as someone who went down a shitcoin rabbit hole. But the greatest thing I did was to continue to read, to continue to study, to actually use some of these things and realize, like, yo, this could have been an Excel spreadsheet. You put it on a blockchain and now you want to sell a token on it. Like, what are we doing here? Like, we're wasting our time. There is no value here. So I went deep down the DeFi rabbit hole, rug pulled on DeFi projects, used leverage, lost things. I went through that. Did that. So hopefully you won't have to go through that. Like, I did all these things, and I just kept realizing, and a good thing is, it's been a couple years now since I've really, did any of that. I've just been stacking sats since, and life's a lot better. Life's just a lot better, a lot less worrying, a lot of less looking at charts and squiggly lines, a lot of less caring about what anybody else does. That's the thing about it. Bitcoin has a way of changing your perspective on everything, even outside of finance. Because all I'm focused on is stacking sats and just being a better person and being a more well-rounded person, and focusing on other aspects of my life. Because when I'm able to say, look, all I want to do is stack corn, I can now focus some time on getting my health better, making, tighter bonds with my relationships, all kinds of stuff. Just becoming more of a minimalist and stop focusing on things that don't really provide value to my life. So Bitcoiner has done that for me. And I know I sound like an evangelist at this point. But again, when you go through this journey, and this is really just about me documenting and sharing my journey and my studies with you guys as I go along. So again, I hope you got value from this episode. Beware of the shit coins. This is episode 6 of Stack Sats or Die Trying. I want to give a special shout out to my brother Bar for sharing his screenshots and his wallets with me and allowing me to share them on this platform. Hopefully I'll get him on here for maybe a special little short interview or something for him to talk about his journey. He told me he would do that, so now I just got to find time for him to do that and bring him on. Maybe a special episode in the middle of the Monday episodes. We'll figure it out. But kind of talk about that journey of being a shitcoiner and then coming to the realization, like, yo, because he told me, he said, I'm down thousands and thousands of dollars. He said he stopped counting after several $1,000s because, he was like, it just made him sick, and it does that, right? It tends to do that. So shout out to everybody out there, even if you're still out there shitcoining. There's much love to you anyway. You know what I mean? I'm not one of these crazy folks. But what I will say is, be careful. Please be careful. Please leave feedback. Please leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about this episode. Let me know how you feel about the Stack Sats or Die Trying series. I appreciate the support thus far. Shout out to everybody listening on audio. Remember, Monday, Stack Sats or Die Trying. Wednesday, By the Hood Podcast. Friday, we do a live show and we give away Bitcoin. And I've been giving away Bitcoin for a couple of years now. We've given away several $1,000s in Bitcoin. We gave away a couple $100s like 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, shout out to everybody in our community who's been able to stack sats. Just by pulling up on Friday, they've been able to stack sats. So, I mean, it's an amazing thing to be able to not only acquire the value yourself, but to give the value away, right? So one thing about this journey, stack sats, I like to stack sats, make memes, talk shit, and, give back. You know what I mean? So with that being said, appreciate you guys. Remember, stack sats or die trying. Love y'all. Peace.